Hello and welcome to the Tibbo Talks podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Fulham FC women's goalkeeper Edie Kelly. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello. Yes, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It's brilliant to have you on. I think we'll get straight into it. For people who may be unaware of who you are, please just give us a rundown of who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Edie, and as you said, I am currently the Fulham women's goalkeeper. I've been playing at Fulham for about 4 years now, I think. But last couple of seasons is when it's really kind of kicked in. Obviously, we had COVID for a few seasons, which had huge disruptions to our league. But
Yeah,
yeah, we're back in full flow now. So fresh off the back of our Craven Cottage
absolutely.
appearance, and yeah, kind of at the peak of where Fulham's meant to be. We're under the academy now and really
Yeah.
pushing forward. So putting all the bad times of COVID and disruptions behind us, and
Mm.
really into the peaks of Fulham women at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brilliant to see. You came out 3-1 winners yesterday against Millwall, didn't you? It was a brilliant result.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's always a huge game, that one. For us, they're a really a tough team. They're physical. Everything you think of Millwall, that's exactly what they are. The good and the bad side of it. So we always know it's more a mental battle than anything else,
yeah,
and that kind of showed yesterday as well. But I think the one thing to do in those situations is to come out as winners on top of the game, which is exactly what the girls did, and they did it with
yeah,
real class. So it was
yeah. It
good to be
really
involved.
was brilliant. Really was brilliant to see. For you personally, where did your kind of your football journey begin? In your Fulham career.
Mine's been a bit in and out, dipping in and out. I played for a local team when I was about 10 years old for a few years, but I was playing cricket mainly throughout that time, from when I was about 7 to 17, really.
Yeah,
So that took up a lot of my time, and I kind of had to take a step back from football.
yeah,
When I was at school, it was hockey that was the main sport, and we didn't really play it there either. So I really got back into football when I went to university. I was
yeah.
playing in the hockey team, and we were friends with the football girls, and they said, "Do you want to get involved and get back into it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure."
Mm.
Just kind of fell back in love with it there, and then when I left, I decided to kind of join Fulham and give it a go there. So
Mm.
yeah, it was a bit
That's
of
really
a
good to hear.
mixed journey.
Yeah, I mean, a mixture of sports there, which is brilliant to see because, of course, women's sports in general is on the rise in terms of popularity, which is brilliant to see. Obviously, as you mentioned earlier, you had a rather big game at Craven Cottage last week, didn't you? How did it feel playing in front of 3,000 plus fans?
Yeah, I think we all got a bit of a reality shock yesterday when we were back on the minibus and back to our good about five or six fans. But yeah, I mean, Craven Cottage was an experience like no other, really. I think when you take the wider context into everything, we're just a group of girls who are professional footballers. We all have full-time jobs alongside what we do. So to be given an opportunity to play on a Premier League pitch like some of the best players in the world have played on, I think grateful is a word that I could use for across the
Yeah.
board. We didn't expect to be given this opportunity at our level, but to
Mm.
see the club's backing has been, yeah, amazing. And I think we're all just
Yeah.
really grateful for it.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it was an unfortunate result in the end, but what would you say was your best part of the day? Because obviously you had a great performance in goal, obviously despite the result. But what would you say was the best part of that day?
Um, I think just facing really talented players. You look at AFC Wimbledon's squad, and they've got, ex-championship players. They've got ex-WSL players that were facing up against us, and I think that quality showed. They were so clinical in front of goal. It wasn't mistakes that really happened. It was more just they took every opportunity they had, and they found the bottom
Mm.
corners very quickly as well. They didn't take time on the ball. They got the ball to their feet, and they triggered and was in the goal. So
Yeah,
it's that quality and playing against that. But I mean, the whole experience, I think for me was watching the videos and photos that everyone had taken from the stands. Like the Johnny
mm.
Hayes stand seemed like it was so loud when I was listening
Yeah,
to the videos back that
mm.
I kind of wished I was in the stands for it, because it seemed like everyone was having a brilliant time, and I
Yeah.
was listening to everyone's stories on the side of it, and they all had different views of the day, and it was just so nice and heartwarming to see.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I wasn't there unfortunately, but I was watching from the online stream, which was really good, and it did seem like the Johnny Haynes the collective were enjoying themselves a lot along the side. So
Yeah, brilliant.
yeah, we have to hope for more Craven Cottage games in the future. It would be great to see, wouldn't it?
Definitely, and I think that that won't be ruled out. You know, the first time we've gone back there and to see the level we're at and to get a good over 3,000 people, I think is a huge success. You know, you're never going to go to a stadium like that with our at our standard and expect to have 25,000 people there. You're not going to. That's not going to be the case. So it needs to start somewhere, and the way it started was so positive, and the reaction from the crowd and the general sentiment of the whole day has been extremely positive. That it can't be off the cards again, and I think it will come, maybe sooner than we think.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to see it again, because obviously Fulham FC women's they're on the rise in popularity, and we want to keep seeing it build up and up to something more frequent and common. So it would definitely be brilliant to see, for sure. In terms of your own personal career with Fulham, do you think you've improved over the years?
Yeah, I think mine's been a bit of a tricky one, really. When I joined in my first season, I tore my ACL about halfway through, which took me out for a long, long time. And then we obviously had 2 COVID years. So I never really had the opportunity to get going for a full season. So I think maybe not, well, potentially the rehab that went through in the ACL phase made me a stronger player, because I feel like I can, jump higher and reach shots I could never really reach before, or kick further than I've never really been able to, because we spent so long building up all the muscles around my legs that I've never really focused on previously. So I think there was definite strengths, and when we got into a full flow of a season, I was lucky enough to win Player of the Year last year. So I really went from absolutely nothing in the squad to being a key part to it. So I think improvement, yes. I just think improvement more as being involved in the team as well. I think people will come to me for a bit of support. I think it's really key to be I would say I'm probably one of the louder voices. Maybe that's good and bad things at times, but definitely my manager Steve would say bad a lot of times. But I think just that kind of voice and then the involvement in the team has probably grown throughout the years I've been there too.
Yeah, it's good to have your sort of character in the squad, because it gives something for the rest of the team to kind of build around, having that sort of reliance.
That's what I like to tell Steve.
When
he's telling me.
Yeah,
I think there's an understanding there that you always kind of need those characters, and it's just about managing the moments, really, isn't it? And it's when you do it and when you don't do it. But I mean, it's always good fun, and it tends to usually be a goalkeeper as well, because they're usually a bit crazier than others. Nice.
Yeah, but the team overall, it's a very talented group of rising women. It's great to see the progress you have all made over the years of Fulham FC women. So, with that in mind, what makes the Fulham FC women's team kind of stand out for you?
I think the one thing that we are really proud of is that whoever you are, when you come into the squad, when you see it, I think one thing you'll take away is our genuine togetherness, and I think our genuine I'd say it's very Fulham, it's a very polite crowd. Everyone's kind of very friendly to each other, and it's just a really pleasant place to be. We are very good friends on and off the pitch, and and you see that, when we're working together. I think one thing that we can always see across the other teams, and you see it in Millwall, for example, is the anger you get across at each other when you're playing. Whereas I think that is something that never ever happens at Fulham, and I think it's a pro and a con, really, because sometimes we're too nice, and I think that loses us games on occasion. Maybe we don't win the battle that someone else might win, but I think collectively, that is what we're so proud, and I think we have strong values that we all know, and we stick to it completely and utterly. So our togetherness, and I think our I'd say class, because I don't think we know our values and we stick to them a lot of times.
I think that's really important, having a real togetherness, because obviously it's one of the key values. I think the men's team as well, they follow as well, with Fulham together or something. I can't remember, but it's really a really important part of the team. So it's good to see. obviously in terms of the sort of mindset you girls go about in terms of games, what give us an insight into what that's like from your perspective.
I think that we are very keen on playing good football. I think that especially when you come down to our tier 5, tier 6, you see a lot of just like win the game, you know, like no matter at all costs, just win the game. But I think we have very like clear game plans and we like to stick to them. I don't think that we are like very messy in what we do. Sometimes we can see, and I think the people that come and watch us regularly will notice when we're not following it and they're like, it just wasn't, you know, us today. But I think that, yeah, we all need to know what the game plan is, and I think that's the main part. It's not down to one person to execute it, it's everyone understanding what their roles are. And I think that especially when you get to our level, you don't necessarily see that across a whole squad. So yeah, I think everyone understanding what their role is and how they play is a massive like thing for us, and making sure that we're the best we can be.
Yeah, that comes back to the whole togetherness thing you mentioned. It's like everyone's you play as a team, as a big collective, and if you win together, you lose together. So yeah, it's brilliant. Obviously, it's amazing to see the recent success with the women's football. For example, we've had the Lionesses winning the Euros, bringing it home earlier in the summer, which was it really did bring the nation together, I'd say. Obviously breaking records in attendance and stuff. Do you have an inspiration or a player that you look up to, especially from like higher in the ranks or from the Lionesses team, perhaps?
I don't think I would say I have an inspiration. I think just more like the movement of the team, and I think like what the team have done collectively has been so progressive for women's football and everything in between. I think how it's all been like seen and viewed has just been like incredible, you know. And you see it in the men's football as well. Like now, I think there's always the conversation around the England glory days when you had like Gerrard, Lampard, Ferdinand, and all that stuff, and they never could click because they just weren't really like friends. But now in the England, you know, squad these days, all of the team are so close and so like genuine friendships, and that's exactly the same in the Lionesses. You could see it throughout. Like, they were all so excited for each other that they were just like, you know, there wasn't any friction. You know, people like Beth England, I don't think she was complaining that she didn't get on the pitch because she was just so like part of the whole squad collective that I think that's the kind of approach that people need to take forward more. And that was kind of the thing I took away from it all, was just like this a squad of 20 people who all are pushing forward towards the same goal, no matter if you're Beth Mead scoring all the goals or you're Beth England who is supporting the team from the side. Everyone played their part to make that a win. And I think that's the kind of inspiration that I took, and I think other people will take.
I think that's really interesting. That like I do agree in massively, really, because of course it's important for that sort of overall inspiration to come above a single, like singling out one or two players. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Of course, just touching on the Lionesses again, we had another successor in the jungle yesterday evening. Jill Scott, were you watching?
I was. I've been dipping in and out again, watching when I can. But I mean, I was lucky enough to meet Jill on the day of the London Marathon, and she was honestly just the most down to earth person, easeugoing, lovely to be around, and just hilarious as well. And I think that as soon as I saw she was going in, I was like, she's going to win. Like there's no doubt about it. She's going to win because she's the type of person that everyone would fall in love with. You know, she's so humble, and although she's like one of the greatest achieving England footballers ever, so hilarious, so down to earth, and just like the perfect person to be in the jungle.
Definitely.
I think that trio of Jill, Owen, and Mike Tyndall was just like a nation's sweetheart.
It really was good to see, and I'm very glad she won.
Yes.
You mentioned you did the London Marathon. How was that for you?
I didn't actually do it. I didn't run. But,
oh, when you were you involved in it?
Yeah, so I work for Lucasade, and Lucasade Sport are a partner of the London Marathon, and we
Okay.
invited Jill Scott and Anthony Joshua down to meet some of the people. One of the Fulham players, Trishy, well, Ellie Olds, we call her Trish, for no reason really, but she ran it. So yeah, we made sure that she got down there and supporting her. But yeah, it was amazing day.
But a very good experience as well. So, but yeah, obviously it's interesting that Fulham in particular, they were in fact the first team in Europe to have a professional women's team from obviously the year 2000 upwards. So, what more do you think we could see from Fulham's women's team in the future in terms of their investment in the women's team going forward?
I think it's a really like amazing and sad story at the same time. You know, Fulham being too good at what they were doing at the time, and no one else was kind of forward thinking enough. So I think it's tricky because, you know, they invested so much then, and maybe there wasn't as much competition, and since taking it away, having to go, you know, from the bottom up is not necessarily the same story as everyone else. But what we have done and kind of made sure to do is do it the right way, you know, experience every level to know what you need to get to do that. I think the hardest part now is that the like differences between the levels is going to be more and more. So I think as you see the increase in women's football happen, the WSL will keep pushing on in terms of value and money that goes into the clubs, which will create a gap between the championship teams.
Yeah.
So that it's harder to see the differences happening there. But I think what we need to look at really is how we can expand the leagues to make them more competitive. Because if you think about it now, there's only about 12 teams in each league, right? So you take that to the Premier League, and that's half of what's there. So opening them up, you've got now, instead of one league that's really pushing on, you've got two leagues together that can get the same investment, and hopefully that the whole can do. But there's just such a disparity in terms of funding and what people are receiving and how much they can put in themselves, that it's really tricky. Because, you know, if you did create a bigger league, then they've got teams that, like, I don't know, Lewis, who are, you know, self-funded, against Chelsea, who have millions and millions of pounds. You know, like, it's really hard. And you don't want to kick the teams like that out of the league and force them out because they don't have the money. But you need to make sure that there's a sustainable way of kind of that and letting it happen. So I think it's going to be, I don't know the solution. I don't know what it is that needs to happen. But small things like, not small things really, but FA Cup this year, that the prize money was a significant increase than what it has been before. I think it was something, don't quote me on this, but like a good maybe between 5 to 8K for winning the rounds yesterday. For some teams is huge. Like that is absolutely for a whole year. And previously it would have been about £1,000 or something really small. But it won yesterday, and the teams that get through and have a good cup run are so much more or better, like financially, and they can actually, you know, make a profit of a club. Maybe that's extreme, but like where clubs are always operating in kind of mainly loss, I'd imagine, something like a good cup run can make you sustainable for a year and allow you to invest it back into the players, get the players you need to push on again. So I think making the winnings better to make sure that the teams reinvest it. You know, in women's football, you're not going to take the money from the FA Cup and go, oh, brilliant. You know, that's a bonus for the chairman. It's going straight back into the club and straight back into
definitely.
So as soon as you start doing that, then you're going to see an increase in the football being better across the board, because people are getting more money to invest into the club, so they can pay players more. They can get the best players. They can give them more time. They can make them train longer because you're paying them for their time rather than having to ask to give it up for free. So as soon as you start investing more money into it across the board, you're going to get better players, better footballers, and in turn, more investment. It's just going to be a full circle, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything you said there is spot on, really. I think the investment need from obviously Fulham are in tier 5 of their league, and obviously that goes all the way up to the WSL, which I think the disparity you mentioned, it needs to be there needs to be some sort of equal level there as well. Make it a level playing field for all. So
yeah, for sure.
And then obviously, I think your idea of kind of broadening the leagues out as well into more teams is also could be a good solution for the way forward as well.
Yeah, I think you won't know until you try it, right? Like, it doesn't work, does it not? Because at the minute it's so hard to get out of the league as well. You know, there's one team that gets promoted each league, so it's, you know, if you have a couple error games, then your season's over and you've got to wait a whole another year to get through. That's what we kind of saw last year. We lost or maybe drew a couple of games that we shouldn't have in the first half of the season, and that was it. End of season. You know, we need to focus on next year. So it's incredibly tricky to get out of leagues when they're so competitive and there's only one spot up for grabs. If you open it up a bit more, then you start to see a bit more fluidity between who those teams are in the leagues.
But definitely overall, I think we need to see a lot more investment, obviously for the Fulham team as well as like other teams in lower leagues as well, to see a much more level playing field going forward, because obviously it's on the rise and we want to see it more. More sold out venues at Wembley and more fans attending Craven Cottage.
Amazing, yeah, definitely.
You mentioned you were working alongside Lucozade. You also have a day job. What is it that you kind of do alongside playing for Fulham?
So I work in social media at a company called Suntory. We produce the drinks Lucozade and Ribena mainly. That's the big ones. People don't really know they're there together, so it's a bit strange when I say Lucozade and Ribena, but yes, they are the same company. So yeah, work on the social media team there with an accidentally unbiased biased coverage of Lucozade sport, because obviously that's you know, where I spend a lot most of my time. It's great fun, you know, everyone knows the brands and it's a good company to be part of.
That's really good. And you through that you've obviously been on Soccer AM as well a few times. What's your experience of that been like? Yeah,
I mean, again, it's been a pretty crazy year in terms of that and the opportunities we've kind of faced. It's the Soccer AM team are amazing. I think like it's everything you imagine Soccer AM to be. You know, you get to the stage, everyone, all the presenters and you know, the whole team are extremely accommodating and they're just the most friendly guys ever. You know, I think like when you go into those situations, it's a show I've grown up with my whole life, pretty much from my dad watching this when I was younger, and even my sisters love it as well. So getting into the studio the first time, I think I was a bit really nervous. And then when they invited me back, it was amazing, and it was such a small thing. Like everyone knew my name initially, you know, straight in for a hug. The second time they came in, asking how I was, and you know, nice to see us back. And it was just the most friendly show I've ever known. It's also just hilarious. Like I love the show, I always have, and I think it's always tricky as a goalkeeper, and you never look good. And I think I need to accept that you never look good, because of the challenges are usually against you. And usually very quick, you know. You rarely in a training session have to save about 10-15 shots in the space of 30 seconds, but that's technically the case. So I think I've just learned to like not make a howler, make one good save, and then I've done a good job.
That's not too bad, but it certainly seems like quite a good laugh. Obviously, you've been alongside some pretty big legends as well. Obviously, Jimmy Bullard's quite a notable one for you. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, he's lovely. He's super nice. And when I told him about the game at Craven Cottage, and he was first to do a video for us and encourage people down, which I thought was just brilliant. You know, he obviously loves the club and has a big, you know, history at the club as well. But yeah, they've all kind of been amazing. I think one of my biggest like reality check moments was just, you know, sitting and having a conversation with David Seaman. Those kind of moments where I'm just like, what on earth has happened to my, like, what is going on? You know, for David Seaman to be asking about my life and like understanding like what about Fulham and everything, I was just like, in what world did I ever think David Seaman would be asking me how much I train.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy time, and I still don't really believe it that it's happening. But yeah, I'm extremely grateful that it's me.
Absolutely, I can imagine. I mean, obviously, you've been on sort of your own media journey as obviously promoting Fulham at Craven Cottage alongside other things, being interviewed by BBC, obviously Sky Sports, and obviously Soccer AM as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a bit of a whirlwind, really. The Sky Sports secondary opportunity when Jess Creighton came down to check out a training session. All credits to Annie on the Fulham team who works at Sky Sports. So she's got a good link in there, got a good foot in there for us. But yeah, I think the beauty of playing for a club like Fulham is these opportunities arise. You know, the club's got so much history, as you mentioned earlier. Women's football at Fulham previously has been extremely successful. So people really want to see that happen again. And I think people, although we're not there yet, they want us to get there. You know, it's not just fans that want that to happen. Everyone wants to see the rise of Fulham again because everyone knows the history of how great the club's been.
Yeah, absolutely. It really I really want to see it happen as well, because obviously I've become quite committed to watching women's football as well over the last couple of months and years, and so it would be really good to see going forward. Obviously, you're at a signing session as well with some of the men's players alongside Mary Southgate, your teammate.
Yes, yeah, that was another opportunity that again just falls into this whirlwind month of promoting the game. But yeah, I mean, they were class guys as well, like Leno and Pereira, just always asking about us and like what we do and how our training schedules and everything. You know, they're just lovely people, and really nice to just be involved in those situations. I think one thing that we can see and help improve the game is more of those interactions, you know, making it really like one club approach to get people down to the games and get that in, you know. A lot of people there obviously had no idea who me and Maz were, but and you know, to be honest, like, who blames them? I don't expect anyone to be going down there for Maz and I, but you know, just being next to them and being in that presence shows that, you know, if your club that you love sees them in that light, then so should you. And you know, even small things like Leno next to me, every time that someone went to him with signing stuff, would push it back to me first, and it was just really small gestures, just making everyone else think that, you know, this approach will make you kind of think that too.
Yeah, they really showed their class obviously on off the pitch. They've been good signings for the men's team as well. So yeah, it's great to see, obviously. So your next game is against Dulwich Hamlet, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, we've got Dulwich on Sunday at home at Moscow Park. Big game for us. They got a strong side this year, and we lost to them fairly recently a couple of weeks ago. We need to win again, as we do every game.
Yeah.
And they make it an extremely tough game when you go to their ground, because they always bring good 300-400 people there.
Yeah.
Cheering loudly, and you know, I think they had 600 people down there on the weekend.
Wow.
For the game, and it's a small local club. You know, that they're absolutely getting huge numbers.
Yeah.
They blow everyone out of the parks for terms of attendance and one league. So we'd love to make it a bit of an atmosphere down at Motspur Park. Whether we can do that, who knows? But
hopefully you can push on for the win.
Yes, that's exactly what we need. I mean, first of all, we'll get the win, but the thing that with Dulwich, they make it so hard at Champion Hill. So let's fingers crossed.
Yeah, also excuse my pronunciation of Dulwich there. I mean, you can tell that I'm not from London.
No.
But, so obviously there's a question which I regularly ask, or I will regularly ask guests on this podcast, and that is by choosing a main, a side, and a drink, what is your go-to McDonald's order?
Oh, McDonald's! Wow. I am a Big Mac meal kind of gal.
Right.
Yeah, Coke Zero, and McFlurry I would get as well.
Yeah.
It depends on what mood I'm in, because I will go for a wrap of the day if
that's not too bad. I always go for a double quarter pounder, and then
wow,
a milkshake. and then a milkshake and a whatever dessert is there. So
Nice.
that's not too bad. So yeah, you've had a pretty exciting journey. So are we gonna see anything new or anything more in the future?
Yeah, I hope so. I think we've had our big kind of moment of the year with Craven Cottage. I think we really just need to push on in the league right now, but we'll definitely be updating all of our social medias along the way. So I think the girls are quite good at that, getting involved, and we'll be shouting as much as we can from our own channels and pushing the Fulham team to be shouting as much from their channels too. So I think we just need to put kind of money where our mouth is now in terms of getting the results to make people want to come down. You know, no one's going to come watch after we've had this massive thing if we're losing every week. So first of all, get our football right, keep winning, give us a good chance to be up for that promotion spot, and then push forward and just get down by getting good results.
Absolutely, I think that'd be very important, and hopefully you're able to achieve some more good results. So
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But it's been brilliant talking to you. Honestly, I really appreciate your time again. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before you?
Just get down to Watson Park. If you're listening to this and you're a Fulham fan, just give it a go. What's the harm? Tickets are only about £5, I think, and the kids are £1. If you've not been before, never questioned it, just get down and give it a go because you will fall in love with it, I promise.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping to go down to Watson Park hopefully sometime soon, whenever I'm not in sixth form and actually have some time on my hands. So, but yeah, thank you again for your time. It's been brilliant talking to you. And yeah, hopefully,
thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening as well. So, thank you.
Amazing.